Hey everybody, welcome to Four Records. I'm Forrest. No Karina this week, but we do have Ben from the band Onesie in. He talks to us about his four records, and there are some pretty good choices. A surprising choice in here that one I thought we'd never cross. This is a fantastic conversation, and one of the nicest people I've check out the new record. It's called Way Thousand Bump to the Sky, and it's available on Sell the Heart Records. Here is Ben's four records.
Drugs! Drugs! Drugs!
Where do you live?
I'm in Anaheim, California.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed. I didn't get a chance to listen to your record, but I did listen to you guys this week.
Cool.
I listened to the single and I just kind of put you guys on random, and it was great. It's really it was a nice little break from. I'm usually a lot of punk rock and stuff, so it was a nice little. There's a little bit, but not it's nice and mellow, and I dug it.
Thank you. Yeah, we're all recovering punk hardcore people who are still in that world to some degree or another. But yeah, this tends to be a little more varied and a little more mellow sometimes.
Yeah. I like I said, it was a nice little break. So tell us about Onesie.
Well, the band it's kind of my songwriting combined with, through the years has kind of been different members, different friend groups, and some of them last for years and some last for a few months, whatever. The current lineup that we have right now has been going pretty strong for a while. I am coming out before Onesie. I was had done time in the punk hardcore scene, and never really left it, but I definitely expanded into power pop, more indie-ish stuff, and really just trying to, I guess, be a little more like songwriter forward. But I never really left like the DIY world.
Yeah.
There were a couple bigger tours, but it's pretty much been my comfort zone since I started playing music when I was like 15 or 16. And the project of Onesie is really just bringing together all sorts of different styles. I think we'll talk about this record later, but I was really influenced by artists that can kind of play with genre a little bit, have, maybe the intensity of a punk hardcore band, but you could be also influenced by something like Joni Mitchell or Steely Dan or something just as much, and whatever really the song called for when I'm writing at home, I just kind of do whatever the song tells me to do and try to get out of its way. Having played for years using the weapons of, two blaring Marshall stack guitars, that suite of tools, and we use that too. But there's lots of other stuff you can do too. So I try to mix it up. But like I said, we do kind of, when we play live, and the shows we tend to be sort of punk hardcore adjacent anyway.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then you have a new record coming out in June, Way Thousand Bump to the Sky.
Yeah, Way Thousand Bump to the Sky, which is a mouthful. I don't think I've heard too many people. We just kind of announced the title recently, so I had a couple of people message me and say, "Oh, it's fun to say. It's kind of interesting," but I really wonder, after saying it for a year or two, we're probably going to just start calling it Way Thousand or something like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting title. I was like, oh, okay. When I was typing it up, I was like looking back and forth, like, I got this right?
You're a parent, right?
Yes, I am.
You'll appreciate this. I mean, it's just something my kid said, screaming at me once, we weren't arguing or anything, but he was just trying to get across an idea that he had, and he just kept on pointing his finger up at the sky and saying, "Way Thousand Bump to the Sky." And I thought, and he actually says it on one of the songs. I sampled him saying it. And it seemed to fit the record perfectly. It's a little abstract, but there's a bunch of themes on it, like it's sort of about being a kid or being old and going through these, life and death and different phases of life. And it seemed to fit the theme of the record well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. When it comes out, or when I get my hands on it, I'm excited to get a listen in.
You shall.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we always like to start off and asking, what was your thought process as you were choosing these albums?
That's a really good question. I think you probably hear this from a lot of people. It's very tough. You probably make a list of like 5 or 10 for each of the eras, and then you whittle it down to like, what is the most meaningful to me, and what could I tie this into, like how it's influenced me. I guess not just as a songwriter, but just as like a human. So when I look back at those different eras, these were the ones that I think really like got their teeth in me and have left a mark. I guess also I'm in my late 40s, so it's like when a lot of these are way back. I still reference them today and still listen to them,
Mhm.
but it's not kind of it's really focused more on. I think three of them are. It's like 0 to 10, and then teenage, and then 20s,
Yeah.
which is like for me that's like the 90s,
Yeah. No,
80s and
no, that's great.
80s and 90s. But yeah, it was really cool to like think about it and whittle it down. I had to, yeah, the runner-ups are not, I have like, I felt like I had 10 runner-ups for each one too.
Yeah, that's kind of the consensus. Is there's always you had some good runners up too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When I was looking at those, but your 0 to 10, you picked Madonna True Blue.
Yeah,
It's been a minute since I've had to voluntarily listen to Madonna or be
right,
forced to listen
exactly.
to Madonna. I have a sister that's a big Madonna fan.
Yeah, yeah.
But she only had like the Immaculate collection, so
All right.
I know all the hits, and
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a song, a deep cut here in between, but not a full
A
album.
full album. Well, and that's funny you mentioned that because it's really the singles off True Blue, which I think there were like four or five big
Hmm.
ones that at the time when I was, I don't know, when that record came out, I think I was about eight or so. And I just remember that kind of series of singles. Every time one would come out, I would just say, I really like these songs. Like I think I'm understanding where this artist is coming from or what they sound like as a person. And I don't know if you remember like Madonna in that era, she pushed her voice. It wasn't punk rock per se, but it was felt pretty human compared to, what you'd get in the pop world now.
Yeah.
And I think the ballad, especially Live to Tell on that album, is just still very moving today. Like that song is just unbelievable.
That one to me, and I don't mean this
Yeah.
in a demeaning way.
Yeah.
It felt like, and this is probably just from being a kid when these movies came out and when they
Yeah.
were establishing these. This it feels like that when they talk about the "I Want" song in a Disney movie,
Yeah.
it feels like an "I Want" song from that. And I don't mean this in a bad way because
Right.
I think the people who are writing the songs for those movies always, kind of pull from pop where they can.
Yeah.
And lyrically and just the way it was composed, it felt like one of those songs in like A Little Mermaid or
100%.
something like that. It just felt like that. I mean, for as much as Little Mermaid, if you look at Ursula, Ursula is just divine from
Right.
John Waters movies, and that's
Yes.
like confirmed. They've said, oh yeah, she moves like divine on purpose.
Right, right, right. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I feel
So
and
yeah,
this song, what that song was actually in a movie, and it wasn't a Disney movie.
yeah.
I want to say it was maybe from Vision Quest. I can't really remember, but I
Oh
remember
gosh.
correlating it with a movie, and it was also during like her highly publicized relationship with Sean Penn. I think
Hmm.
he was in the video, and I just remember thinking, this person's kind of badass, and also just sort of. I'm a New York native, and I could
Yeah,
just like feel the New Yorkness coming on. Not just that song, but like all the songs on this record. And I
yeah.
remember seeing the vinyl copies of the album around, and it was a little early for CDs, but the tapes were everywhere. So I grew up in at that point I had left around 1987, 88. I was living in Flushing, Queens, and breakdancing was really popular at the time.
Hmm.
So a lot of my exposure to music was just boom boxes around people breakdancing on cardboard, like out in these kind of shared spaces around these apartments that I lived in Flushing.
Yeah.
And you would that's not one necessarily that people would be breakdancing to, but it would be part of the mix of what I was hearing. So all those singles, and then that kind of segued into my first experience with MTV, which like for my generation, if you were able to afford it, like MTV really was the gatekeeper and the tastemaker, right? When you're like 9 or 10 years
Yeah.
old, you could not, that's what you just wanted to watch TV and see music. And those songs were just in constant rotation. So yeah, and I think it's just early training for hooks, for feeling, for that music is kind of spare in just the right ways too.
Yeah.
It's not hard to understand. It's like just really just hook after hook with a really great powerful singer with great lyrics like coming right at your face the whole time. So I remember just being like Madonna's cool. And yeah, that's when I really look back on like the big records, and there's some other runner-ups in there. That was, I think, the one that I gravitated to the most.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't realize how many of those hits were on,
Yeah.
we know which ones they were. I mean, just like I said, I just heard them all on that best stuff collection, but I didn't realize all four of those were from the same record. I figured they were, around the same era, but
Yeah, yeah. By the
not
way,
like,
the Immaculate Collection is like I think maybe the first time I realized she was like doing a pun of the Immaculate Conception. And
yeah.
I just remember being like, I think I've heard of the wait, I was like, wait a minute, I see what she's doing there. When that came, I'm whatever age I was and that came out 12 or something, I was like, oh, that's funny. She's kind of got a good sense of humor too.
Well, in for a penny, in for a pound, I guess. You know what I mean? You already got one. You might as well just like, well,
Yep.
they're not going to hate me anymore.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, yeah. And to your point, like I didn't really keep up with Madonna. I had this one, I'll tell you one really insane experience. So to bring it back to the punk rock world,
Mhm.
I went to this show in 1994 at Roseland to see Rancid, who I'm
Okay.
sure you know. Yeah. And was just getting into Rancid. This is at the time of the Let's Go album.
Yeah.
And I happened to be at the show that she went to sign them at to Maverick Records. So coincidentally, a friend of mine somehow got us into the VIP area at this place. Roseland's gone now, but they
Mhm.
had like an elevated VIP area where you could watch the bands. And so I happened to get up there and was watching Rancid. I think they were opening for the Offspring on that tour. And Madonna just kind of comes in and sits, I don't, literally 6 feet away from me with these bodyguards around her. And I remember she had like leopard print something on. It's a little bit fuzzy now, but I couldn't believe it. It was like someone, a child, just a person that was larger than life. Rancid was a big band, but I didn't expect Madonna to be there. But
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool that she was doing her own label and kind of curating that, and would come to see a band that years on that I was liking as like a semi-rebellious teenager. She was into too. They didn't go with her; they stayed with Epitaph, but it was cool to see.
Yeah, no, she was doing that for a minute where she was just trying to get pop punk bands or even or punk
Yeah.
bands in general. Because there was
Yep.
another band that I briefly liked in like late '90s. She had been she kind of had her ear to the ground on a lot of that.
I think so. And that label Maverick was kind of all over the place because I remember Prodigy, I think was she had signed around that time too. So yeah, just and that grunge band, Candlebox, like carbon copy of a carbon
Oh,
copy
that's
grunge band, Candlebox.
yeah.
It was a total mix. So I think maybe
Huh.
I'm gonna guess the people in Rancid were kind of like, well, we'll just stick with Epitaph. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah, I'm just kind of like thinking like, yeah, I guess I didn't realize that Candlebox was on there too.
Yeah, I don't know, at
Prodigy,
least that
yeah.
first record. I it's funny, speaking of the opposite of punk, I'll tell you, I happened to see Candlebox open for Rush. I'm a big Rush fan too.
Hmm.
And it always sticks out in my mind. I saw their guitar player knock over their Marshall amps, and I saw them bounce on a mattress that was behind them. So it was like, very
Yeah.
performative destruction on stage at Madison Square Garden.
So your teen was
Yeah.
Lifetime Hello Bastards.
Yep. Yep.
Was this an album that you looked for, or did it find you?
Oh, it found me in a very interesting way, completely not of my own choosing. I remember being on a train, Long Island Railroad train going into the city. I think I was in my freshman year. That's 95. So yeah, I was in my freshman year of college. And I had been, interested in local Long Island hardcore where I grew up, and I was now going to school in Albany, and I was getting into the scene there and just sort of absorbing everything. And I knew that I was starting to gravitate towards what I would call like, I don't know, like the smart punk or clever punk or whatever, like probably more Descendants
Hmm.
or Bouncing Souls, like first couple records than, the Casualties or something like that. I
Yeah.
liked it. I liked it all, but I was more into that stuff. And my friend Ed was on the train with me, and he was dating a girl, and she happened to have a tape with her, and I can't remember if we were all trading tapes together or how she might have said, "Yeah, you might like this based on what else you like." And I was already doing my own punk band, but we were based in Albany where I was going to college. And on one side was said Lifetime Hello Bastards, and the other side was Mouthpiece, the Jersey hardcore
Yeah.
band. And so I took the tape. I think I listened to Mouthpiece first because I thought that would be like the more, I don't know, heavier, engaging listen. And then I got to Hello Bastards, and it like I couldn't believe how much I fell in love with this record. It was just on a friend of a friend's tape. So I just had this tape for months. And eventually I got a CD copy through the radio station at SUNY Albany. But I mean, talk about a band that really had already paid their dues at that point, but was starting to bring together all kinds of kids in the area. Like, so you have emo kids, hardcore kids, punk kids. The songwriting was incredible. The guitars were so thick and present, and they really kind of spoke to, I don't know, coming from when you start playing guitar or getting into music, if you're kind of a, suburban kid, I think you're
Yeah.
tending to be into Metallica or something like that first. Things that are very interesting to play on guitar. And they had plenty of cool, interesting parts, but the songwriting and the lyrics were just, I don't know, they were beyond anything that I listened to until that point. And it also got me through a sort of emotionally. The record is very much, I think, about being a misfit or brokenhearted, and it was just perfect. It was just what I needed at that time in my life. Amazing band, and then I've kept up with everything. Like Dan Neiman has done everything since then, and just a huge, that record in particular is a huge influence on me. It's also it's weird enough in the right ways. It doesn't really fit all the norms at the time. Like there's like the guitar tones aren't perfect. There's a little chorus in the guitar. Some of the lyrics
Yeah.
are weird. Some of the singing's not perfect. It's just the right blend of clear and powerful, but feeling very human at the same time.
Yeah, I dug it. I've heard. I think I'm trying to. I've heard songs here and there. Growing up, I remember who did I see at a Warped Tour? I saw Midtown,
Hmm.
and they were like, "Oh, this is." I don't know if they were covering Lifetime or they're just telling everybody to go check out Lifetime or something
Yeah,
like that.
right. They seem to have influenced a lot of the generation right after,
Yeah,
which I'm definitely less familiar with, but I know like Taking Back Sunday was hugely influenced by them. Saves the Day, obviously, we're kind of a Lifetime acolyte to start with,
yeah,
and yeah, I was like, this is great. I'm all for it if you guys are into the same stuff as me. It never sounded exactly like Lifetime to me, which is probably good. But yeah, I'm definitely mid '90s. They weren't as sung as they would later be. I think they were kind of an underdog band at for the first half of the '90s.
yeah. And I like that it kind of jumps between, like you're saying, hardcore punk and emo. Like it just
Exactly.
jumps
Yeah.
between those, but it it presents the song at hardcore speed. Like it's just
Exactly.
like there's not a lot of like. Usually you get that second or two in between. It's not even half a second, and I feel like it just jumps.
That the length of that record was really influential too, because I want to say it's 20 minutes, 18 to 20 minutes or something,
Yeah,
which is amazing how many great songs they shove into that time, but in a completely different way than, there were plenty of like Rancid again, like would have 40 songs on an album, it seemed. And
yeah,
and they would go by and you'd be like, these are good, these are good. But something about the economy of that songwriting, it almost reminded me of like the Beatles or something. Like it was just like early Beatles or
Mhm.
Kinks, very pop, like just very nuggets. Like a minute 20 seconds is all you need. And yeah, I wouldn't stick to that. It's not like I like psychedelic music too. I like expanding and cycling riffs around, but that was a great lesson on how to be economic.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And like you're saying, they're not just hardcore songs. They're
Yep.
poppy songs. Have you ever listened to? I don't know how big. I had a friend recommend this person to me, Tony Molina.
Oh, I love Tony Molina. Yeah,
Yeah,
great
he
stuff.
does kind of the
Exactly.
same thing where it's like they're
Yeah.
pop. They're all pop songs, and
So
they're
short.
like a minute 30, minute 10, and
Yeah.
I'm always like,
Right. Right.
I'm
It's
like, I
like
want more of this.
I mean, he's a great example of yeah, like a punk hardcore person that's applying that economy, but using kind of the toolbox of like yeah, classic power pop, Brit pop. Definitely, yeah, his stuff is amazing. And whenever his stuff comes up on my release radar, I'm like instantly into it. But
Yeah,
it just goes by so quick, and it's usually not a well, sometimes it's a full album. But when it's like two or three songs, I mean, that is often just 3 minutes of music.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm always like, wait,
Yeah.
no, you're just going, you're just getting going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, he's amazing. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I've not listened to everything, but everything I listen to, like when it comes, like you're saying, when it comes up and I listen to it,
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, this is great, and I
yeah, yeah,
will
yeah.
listen to it because they're so short. I will like let the album repeat a couple times just to kind of because you can listen to it like three times and it's like 30 minutes.
Totally. And I kind of relate to what he's doing because it is a sort of similar genetic thing there. It's like it is like taking the sort of DIY punk hardcore stuff and just trying to apply some new tricks to just the sonic palette of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was this the first record that made you feel like this was your music, or or were there
Uh,
others before this,
I
you
mean,
think?
I was probably 18 when I heard it. So
Hmm.
I think I had already I'd been playing guitar for like 5 years at that point, and I had already
Okay.
kind of had like, yeah, like I had already gone through, a couple different phases of I want to play this kind of music, I want to play that kind of music. I mean, it's not like you have to pick one, but I think when
Yeah.
you're learning an instrument, especially, you tend to hone in on a scene, especially back then, pre-internet. It really was like I'm going to learn all the Seattle bands. I'm going to learn all the metal bands.
Hmm.
Really, whatever was in Guitar World magazine, but they would kind of focus in on stuff like that. Like once hair metal was gone, you kind of had the next wave of guitar rock, which was tended to be grunge. So I found that there were bands that were my own, but I feel like I was just kind of still keeping an open mind. I think once you're in a band and you're playing shows and kind of doing some version, not marketing, but you're trying to get across what you guys are about, what you're trying to say, whatever your band is trying to do. The first band I played in was kind of like Riot Girl influenced, and I was trying to make my style fit in that. And the second band I played in was kind of I don't know, like not PC kind of punk, like talking about, I don't know, just stupid kids like 16-year-olds write about. By the time I'd gotten to Disenchanted, which is like the band that I was in when I found Hello Bastards, we were definitely trying to get across. We're a punk band operating in the punk scene.
Hmm.
Let's be together within that scene. So I think I'd established, that stuff that had been my music for a while. I was just thinking about this because I have a rehearsal later today, but like Smashing Pumpkins was probably the number one record I was into as far as learning guitar when I was like, 13, 14.
Would that have been the first one?
Well, first and second,
Yeah.
Gish and Siamese Dream. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah,
Okay, so you're mid-20s.
yeah.
Stephen Malkmus, Face the Truth.
Face the truth. Yeah. It's funny in the overall sort of the Malkmus discography. I feel like this one does not get a lot of mentions. There's been entire podcasts trying to figure out from his solo stuff and from Pavement what's the best stuff. So my relationship with Malkmus was pretty non-existent. I remember, I'll bring it back to another Roseland show.
Hmm.
I went to see Weezer on their first tour.
Oh, nice.
Maybe not their first tour, but the Blue Album tour in '94.
Okay.
They also played Roseland, and I remember seeing a person with a Pavement shirt at the show, and it was in the PV logo, the kind of spiky, the PV amp
Yeah, 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 yeah.
guitar company. And I kind of got the sense, I was like, oh wow, I think they're making fun of PV. That's my amp. I don't appreciate that. It left kind of a bad taste in my mouth. And I remember just watching their early videos and being like, I feel like they're not trying so hard. In fact, I think in Beavis and Butthead, when they made fun of them, they're like, these guys got to try a little harder.
Yeah.
And when you're into like thunderous guitar rock, it's hard to like start incorporating those bands that are looser and slower and not really relying on so much like volume and tightness. And so I was a little slow to appreciate them. But I think by the end of the '90s, I picked out some favorite Pavement songs. And then once he started doing solo stuff, I was completely into it. Like that album, which is the third solo album, is the template for how I thought of Onesie being a band, meaning like each song can be its own world. You write a song that sounds like it's going to be like Oingo Boingo, that's fine. Make it like Oingo Boingo. You write a song that's going to sound like a '70s power pop song, fine. Hardcore song, fine. Whatever it's going to be, just let it be, and it'll all sound like you as long as you're kind of writing from an honest point of view. So that was the first record that really taught me how to do that. It's extremely guitar-y too. There's a lot of wacky soloing and improv on it.
Hmm.
Still a ton of energy, like really like sad ballads on it. And I listen to it like every time we're making a record, I go back and reference that record like to this day. I think the downside of it is that it makes it very hard to describe what you do, right? Because you have a record that has a bunch of sounds on it. You don't want to sound like you're doing a parody record or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've kept up. Malkmus is definitely like a guitar hero. Everything he's done, especially since 2000, has been some of my favorite stuff.
Yeah, I was kind of late to Pavement.
Yeah.
I would do a lot of soundtracks as a kid, and I think on the Jackass soundtrack, Spit on the Strangers on it,
Hmm.
and I
Right.
like that, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Great
And
song.
then
Yep.
it just took me a minute to kind of to find them, and I got to see
Hmm.
them at Coachella. Like the only time I went once, and I was like,
Yeah.
I want to go once just to see it. And
Was that recently? Like one of the reunion?
oh, this was My son is 15, so 16 years ago. Or no,
Oh,
he's
yeah, first
fif-
reunion around 2010. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yep, yep.
yeah.
Got it.
So it was, and they were cool to see. I mean, it was cool to see them,
Yeah.
and I think I saw Faith No More also. Those are
Oh,
the two
nice.
reunion ones that were happening that night.
Talk about a genre destroying band. They're another example. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But
That's cool.
they I at first, and I think what kind of took me a minute to get into them is that a lot of, I mean, you can tell it's a Steve Malkmus song from like a mile away. You can
Right.
just hear it and you're just, that's him and that's what it is. But
Totally.
I think the genius in it is how slight that he will change things a bit. Like from what
Hmm.
I've heard from the solo stuff and from Pavement,
Yep.
is that it's changed just enough, and lyrically, I mean, he's a great lyricist too.
Totally. Huge. Hugely great. Yeah.
I don't think they do too many electric stuff in like electronic stuff in
Yep.
Pavement. And so hearing it on here, it kind of threw me off at first. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
wasn't expecting this."
Yep. Yep. Yeah. 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 He's got all kinds of different sides. He did a record called Denied in, I want to say 2019. That
Hmm.
was kind of electronic dominant, meaning like, more synthy. And it was awesome. Like, there's really no options you should keep off your palette. And I feel like he does that so well where it can be a little boring to have five guitars on a song. That's like my instinct is just keep layering
Hmm.
guitars because that's my comfort zone. But switch that to a keyboard through a weird pedal, switch that to a xylophone or something, whatever. And it'll let your voice cut through a little more because you're not taking up so much space. And yeah, his voice in general, I feel like part of my problem with Pavement originally was this. I found like his voice I didn't really understand the kind of yelps and the low parts. And now I just find that stuff to be very human, right? Because if you're screaming the whole time, it kind of just feels like a button that you're just you're pressing.
Yeah.
It's kind of started to not hold my attention. Or if you're singing the whole time, that can be sort of monotonous too. He just kind of bounces between everything like in a way that seems to just flow perfectly. And I've seen Pavement, yeah, like you were saying, I've seen Pavement a bunch since their reunion and never saw him back in the day. And I've seen Malkmus, probably 10 times solo stuff. And they're just so good. Like everyone he plays with and the Hard Quartet, which is his newer band. It's just awesome. It's about as jammy as I like to get because I feel like when you're coming from punk hardcore, it's really hard to let go of the economy and wanted to keep things concise and not waste people's time. But it's just the right amount of expanding where, I can appreciate a 3-minute song becoming a 6-minute song. Yeah.
Yeah. You said you go back to this album as you're
Yeah.
writing newer stuff. Has anything changed on it on those times? Like, how many times have you? How many albums have you written as Onesie?
This will be the fourth one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has your interpretation changed of it at any time?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think the first and foremost, it's the people you're playing with because you're incorporating their styles and their influences of what makes them happy. Like right now in the band, we have, I would say, some like high energy players. And Rob, who's been in the band for 3 years or so, 3.5 years, total punk hardcore kid. I mean, like,
Mhm.
we to him, Lifetime is classic rock. To me, it's what I listened to,
Yeah.
when I was a teenager. Which is great. I mean, we have so much common ground. It's awesome. And then, when we play live, the songs tend to have a lot of power to them. And when I've played with, people that have tastes that are made a little more indie, things might calm down a little bit. So yeah, I think like when you start assembling songs, which for me, I'll basically demo, 20 songs or something over a few years, whittle that down to 15, and then we kind of whittle that down to 11 or 12 that make the record. And generally the process will be like, all right, I see sort of a concept here. This one's going to be a little heavier, or this one's going to be a little lighter, or this one's going to be a little darker. But it tends to be kind of what I'm saying with Malkmus, like tends to be that you could really point to any of these four records and find just as many moments where things are, dark and heavy or light and poppy. They're all kind of mixed in there. But I think they are kind of referencing points in my own life, right? Because like, being a parent, getting
Yeah.
older, whatever, trying to own property, trying to exist in New York City. These are all themes that are, happening at different phases. So when I listen back to the first Onesie record, which we recorded about 10 years ago, it sounds, my priorities are at a completely different spot than where they'd be now, or just what I find interesting to listen to. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Let's see. Do you tell the other people in the band, hey, this is kind of what I go off of, or
Uh,
do you let them
that's
just
a
kind of
that's a
cook on
good
their
point.
own?
Well, I think just being friends, like you're kind of like throwing records at each other all the time. Hey, did you hear this one or something?
Hmm.
I think if there's some connective tissue that I think would be a great reference for like, I really want the record to sound like this, then yeah, then I'll throw that out. But I think in the process of arranging the song, so if I demo the song and I bring it to everyone, I might say something like, well, the drums here I was hearing like really Keith Moon, really kind of loose and all over the place, and then really metronomic in this part. So we'll talk about it more like that rather than like, I want it to sound like this band per se. But inevitably, like any band, you have the code, right? Meaning
Hmm.
like this part I want to be really punky a la Lifetime, or we want to be really fast here or something. On the new record, there's actually like a straight up lifetimey super chunk kind of like fast punk song. I think the fastest onesie song that has come out, and everyone jumped on it immediately and totally understood. And by the way, we do lots of covers.
Oh,
We
okay.
do, yeah, like when it's someone's birthday, they get to choose a cover in the band,
Oh,
and
that's
then
awesome.
yeah, it's a fun tradition. You can't, and the only thing is you can't say no, right? So if I want to do a Billy Joel song, they can't say no to me. And when Rob just wanted to do a Kid Dynamite song, I couldn't say, not that I would want to. I like Kid Dynamite too,
Yeah.
but you just do it, and everyone's so good. We can generally learn it in like 5 minutes. So it's very fun. So yeah, our influences I think are on this record especially. You can really feel like the energy, like it's pretty up, as opposed to I think the last two records there was more of a mix. Some songs were a little heavier, and also just literally to the way that like the drums sound or the guitar sound, like
Yeah.
they could feel more in your face or kind of more layered and calm. The everything on this record sounds really upfront and really really going for the throat.
What are the what covers have you guys done recently?
Okay, the last one was Kid Dynamite. Before that, it was Paramore for our
Which one?
drummer Jason's birthday. Now,
Okay.
yeah, the song now, yeah,
My
and
daughter's
we,
into
we
Paramore, so I'm kind of slowly
oh, there you
getting
go.
into it too.
I would, yeah, educate me, please, because I'm still learning about them. Uh,
You know what though? If you get a chance to see them, they put on a great show. We went and saw
right,
them. We're a big Linda Linda's family in my house, and
yep.
they were opening for Paramore, so we went and saw them. And we got I think for like my daughter's 10th birthday or something, we went and saw them.
Oh, nice,
And not my band, but
right,
way worth the money that we paid to see them.
sure, and you could see, adjacent and part of the scene in their own way, right?
Yeah,
I think also it's like I always have this struggle where coming from a really a time when being small and being sort of, keeping it real, quote unquote,
mhm.
was the virtue. Whereas like the sort of career punk stuff from the early 2000s, like that messaging completely went over my head. I
Yeah,
always thought it was bizarre that these bands would be playing to so many people. Didn't really make that much sense to me. And the music, if the music kind of suffered for it, I was like, well, naturally if you have to have a chorus that makes sense to 10,000 people, it's probably not going to be, something from Hello Bastards.
yeah,
Uh, but that's fine. I mean, I love a lot of huge music too. It's not really that's the thing. It's more, I think it was more just the fact that they were leaving the scene and maybe crossing over to this audience that was bigger. Uh, to get back to your point though,
mhm.
you said covers, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then before that, we had done a Bowie cover for a comp, um,
Which
which
one?
is "Boys Keep Swinging," which
Oh, that's a
is,
good one.
do you know that song? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That you could listen to our version on Spotify. That one came out really well.
I'll have to find that.
And then before that, it was Billy Joel, "Big Shot," which I did for my
Nice.
birthday. So all over the place. But it's funny, all of them, like we don't take long to get them ready. They're kind of better when they're raw. You know what I mean? Like you want
Yeah.
to sound like you're kind of like learning it a little bit when you're playing it.
Yeah, our when I was playing, our rule was you can pick a cover, but you have to sing whatever cover you pick.
I like that. That's nice. Right.
That was our
So
big rule.
we get around that. So you can do that too, but we have guests come up a lot.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
we'll just be like, all right, we're gonna do this like we did the Paramore song with our friend Casey, who plays in a band called A Very Special Episode.
Mhm.
Amazing singer, and it was perfect. She had played in a Paramore cover band with our guitar player Rob too, and it was I don't think any of us could have handled those vocals, so it was it
Yeah.
was good that she came.
Well, that's
Yeah.
something. Do you record those, or do you guys just play them live type of thing?
The Bowie one we did because it was for a comp on Mint 400 Records, which is a
Hmm.
label in Jersey. But no, I think we really enjoyed doing it and then never talking about it again. On to the next. Yeah.
So your recent record
Yeah.
was the Lemon Twigs Go to School.
Yes.
What drew you to this record?
When I thought that's actually probably that record, they put out tons of stuff and
Mhm.
they're just getting better and better, in my opinion. That one is from a little over, it's probably like 6 or 7 years
That's
old at
fine.
this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like they are probably the band that has impressed me most, not just in the quality of the songwriting, but just in the intelligence of it. And especially this record, this the boldness and the weirdness that they
Mhm.
go with. And there is like actually a good amount of punk energy on it, but it's not really out. They're not really from that scene at all.
Yeah.
It really is. They are completely in their own world. I think power pop fans really like them, but they are operating in their own world completely. I've seen them a bunch of times. They're awesome. This record, I literally heard in a store with a friend from the UK that was visiting. We were just walking around. Oh my God, what was it? It's the store in Greenpoint. I can't remember the name. There's like 8 record stores in Greenpoint and the
Mhm.
Academy Records. And we were just kind of shopping around for maybe buying some vinyl. I was with a friend that used to tour manage a band that I toured Europe with, and he was visiting me. This is years later, and whatever it was, 2018, 2019. And I heard just this amazing song that I was like, this is the kind of I'm looking for this kind of music, whatever I'm hearing, which is really kind of like aggressive Keith Moon drums, power poppy, hooky, classic rocky, but like not cheesy macho rock. Just it was really like kind of childish sounding, which I like. And I just asked what it was. This never happens that I hear something in a record store and go and starts a conversation. Found out what it was. I don't think I bought, they didn't have, what were they? They might have been playing it from Spotify or something. They didn't have the record, but I
Yeah.
went home and listened to it and I was just blown away. I was blown away that I hadn't heard of it, to be honest, because it's kind of scary when there's things that are made exactly for you. Consider you might have these particular tastes, and it's just some stuff doesn't even get to you. You
Yeah.
know. So I think it was the first I had probably heard their name on Pitchfork at some point. They had some buzz like early on a record or two before that. But that whole record is just an amazing feat. It's a concept album. I think about a couple. The woman is a teacher and the father is a like failed musician, and I think this is based on their own lives. And they adopt a monkey and try to just ingratiate the monkey into their world and into
Well,
school.
that banana song makes sense now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they just mine so much material out of it. It did inspire me to like, occasionally just create some, not fiction, but like speculative kind of fiction where you're kind of like, oh, what if I talked about someone else's perspective that I'm not 100% sure, but I made some art from that.
Mhm.
Um, as you get older, you kind of want to do more of that, do more character, do more, not just you, not just because if I'm not going through anything that interesting at the moment, I still might want to write a song or like, or spin a yarn or whatever. So yeah, so on that record, they do a ton of this unfolding story of like this heartbreak of people giving up their dreams, which is, look, that's always a good theme. All these other records we're talking about are probably about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, just instrumentally, they're total geniuses, incredible singers, like they're brothers, so they have like great harmonies and stuff. I think they played pretty much everything on that record.
Yeah.
And
It looked like it from when I was a little bit. I tried to do a
yeah,
little bit of research, but not too much. That's what it looked like.
yeah, yeah. And I was honestly just at first I was also confused that the last name is Daddario, which is also the string company, and who are also from Long Island. And I was like, are these kids from the string company? They're not. But I thought it was kind of cool that, like, I don't know, Long Island is the birthplace of, you know, a lot of different range of quality of music, and sometimes doesn't have the best reputation. Like, there's Billy Joel and, great hardcore stuff, like, the entire scene. But I don't know, when I think of like big
Mhm.
punk hardcore bands, Vision of Disorder or Silent Majority and that whole scene, which I love too. But this was something completely different. I didn't know if there was a scene out there. I think they're kind of just adjacent to the city. I don't think they identify necessarily as a Long Island band. But
Mhm.
yeah, so I saw them on that tour. They were awesome. And all their records since then have just like continued to expand on this world. And they're just an amazing influence. If we're living in a time of AI written crap and slop, they are as human as it gets. Like recording analog, the band absolutely destroys live, busting out 3-4 part harmonies like it was nothing. It's very impressive and inspiring.
Yeah, it was cool. They kind of remind me of Sparks, but if they were more
Yes.
they
Yes.
I mean, I was listening to it and I'm like, oh, this feels like very early Sparks, but if they were
Yep.
more, like you said, I could tell it was a concept of some sort because they
Yep.
kept referring, the way the lyrics, they kept referring to things. But
Hmm.
if it was like if Sparks, but if they were more if they took their songwriting like that much more serious, like just like
Right.
a smidge more serious.
And the interesting thing is, I think they were more like Sparks maybe in the beginning in terms of the kind of zaniness or the
Hmm.
kind of bending genre, but they've kind of settled into more of like a just perfect power pop song writing contest with each other. And
Okay.
just it's pretty much Beatles, Beach Boys, Kinks influences, but it's just so good. I miss the kind of style they were doing on this record, but all of it's fantastic. But yeah, to your point, Sparks. When I saw the Sparks documentary, I was like, totally. I see the connection between these. I think also because there's like two of them, right? So
Yeah.
they're kind of steering the ship. Uh, yeah, totally. And it really did open the doors for me to figure out, like when you see them live, they really are so tight. They have the energy of like there is a bit of a punky energy there. So wanting to keep everything so accurate like it is on the record is a good virtue to have, but then also just letting it kind of be what it is too. How let people play however they want to play, which I feel like they're all doing. Like they really give themselves a lot of freedom live, and it's pretty celebratory.
Okay. When
Yeah.
you listen to music now, do you listen to it differently? And what can you hear that you didn't hear before?
Differently than when I was a
Than when
teenager.
you were younger?
Yeah. I think the more you write music and the more you know about how music is constructed, you lose a little bit of the mystery because you kind of I recognize that chord progression. I kind of have a feeling the breakdown's going to be here, all that kind of stuff. I think it's very important to take breaks and get interested in other art. I do visual art too.
Hmm.
Just take time away from that. Does it change the way that I hear it? Not really, because if there's been a long enough time and a song I loved when I was 15 comes on, it still sounds amazing to me and it gives me goosebumps. But if you're playing music 10 hours a day, it's gonna do that a little less. I
Yeah.
think like I've gravitated a little more towards like something like Steely Dan, right? I literally can't recognize the chord progressions because they're so jazzy and layered. That's made me more fascinated to go back and try and recreate that on my own in whatever way I can. Malkmus does that too. Like you're trying to like find a tuning, find a different way to approach this that makes it feel a little fresh. And I always hate repeating myself, although it definitely happens, right? So
Hmm.
I feel like the way that I hear music now is different because I'm looking for other artists to not repeat themselves in the way that I don't, right? Um, yeah, I'm not sure I answered your question there, but
No, 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 no. That's good.
basically, it's kind of the same. I mean, I'm still
Yeah.
kind of looking for loud guitar music, to be honest with you. That is interesting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Does the music you listen to now reflect growth, comfort, or return to something similar, familiar? I mean.
all the above.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, there's a lot of comfort listening. I think you do when you're older, but in rotation, like I was saying. So, like, yeah, if I haven't heard something in a year, if I haven't listened to Moving Pictures by Rush in a year, I'll put it on and it sounds amazing, and it'll re-inspire me all over again. Um, but I think I do. If you have like 10 minutes of listening to music on your headphones in the morning before you have to do a job,
Hmm.
that music really has a job to do in and of itself, which is to get you pumped, get you excited, get you inspired for what you're about to do. So I think I will put on music with a purpose, which tends to be music I know a little better. If I have a spare half hour and I'm on a walk and I just want to open my mind a little bit, I'll put on something that I want to check out for the first time.
With the Slim and Twigs album, do you
Yeah.
think you would have connected with it at an earlier age?
Oh, that's a great question. No, I don't think so. I think when I was younger, yeah, I might have recognized that it sounded like my parents' music because it kind of does. Like they're retro in that they're kind of borrowing
Mm.
more from the music that boomers listen to. I think I was probably more obsessed with establishing my own identity when I was younger, and I would hear that and just think that it was either derivative or just like not confrontational enough or not interesting enough. Yeah, that came with time. I think like in my mid 20s, I started gravitating towards more classic rock, like Big Star, and just understanding
Oh,
how much this influenced everything.
I love Big
You know,
Star.
oh, it's incredible. And you really, everyone. I mean, like there's no like there's no like major chord progression guitar music that is not influenced by Big Star at this point,
Mhm.
either directly or through three or four other bands, right? Like,
Yeah.
they really so I did not listen to that record like when I was a teenager. It took like, my mid to early 20s, someone introducing it to me and understanding that the theme from that 70s show was from an amazing band.
Yeah.
So no, my younger self would not know. I was probably more interested in like Nine Inch Nails or something. Yeah.
All right. So with your four records that you have, do you feel like there's a theme or feeling or through line that kind of ties them all together?
Oh, good question. Yeah, I maybe just being neurotic because the records really kind of start in the Trump era or like right before the Trump era.
Hmm.
I feel like it's sort of just like the journey of being a neurotic person and using music as your therapy to get all these things out and having varying levels of honesty depending on the song or the part in the song. So, yeah, that theme of just kind of feeling like you're a neurotic person and you're not going to be able to function in this world unless you have this route to get it out, right? So, like, most of these songs tend to be about dealing with things you're worrying about or trying to make sense of things that are present in our world that, seem so cruel and senseless that they're hard to rationalize and just hard to stomach. So yeah, they're all kind of like that. I hate to say it, but like it's some of it's happy music, but a lot of it is just born out of needing to get something out.
Thank you for listening to Four Records. Please check us out on Instagram at Four Records Podcast or email us at fourrecordspodcast@gmail.com. And as always, please keep up with your favorite bands at dyingscene.com.